Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting, and we'll start off with the consideration of approval of the agenda.
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman,
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
Next off then is approval of the minutes of February 22nd and March 1st. Are there any comments on the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman,
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
Star,
Aye. Next up is consideration of the approval of the consent calendar. Does anybody have any questions on the consent calendar?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman,
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley.
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved. Your business of the mayor, I don't have any board appointments tonight, but I did have something brought to my attention that one of our police officers, Lenny Left, has received an award recently. The Shields Sporting Goods Hometown Hero Award. And that was for his work with Todd Pritchard in the state legislature to get the Logan's Law passed, which allows people to be donors on their hunting and fishing licenses. So he was recognized by Shields as a hometown hero. And it was a good week in the Luft household because Lily Luft was also named the Ms. Wrestling Dan Gable Hall of Fame Museum Wrestler of the Year in female wrestling. So congratulations to Lenny and Lily for those two honors. They certainly reflect nicely upon our community, and we'd like to give them recognition when they receive such awards. So next up, then we'll start with a public hearing on the proposal to enter into an essential purpose loan agreement. So we'll open that hearing. We have an affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have we received any written comments?
I did not, Steve. Did you get any? Nope.
Any oral comments tonight? Motion to close the hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Right, so then discussion on the essential purpose loan agreement.
Yes, absolutely. The essential corporate loan agreement is for the vast majority of the items that we're looking to do the short-term borrowing for. I mean, that includes police, fire, street equipment, clothing, bunker gear, hoses, tornado sirens, street repairs, riverfront rock project, sportsman's lights, nuisance abatement. All those things total about just not quite $165,000. And so this first essential corporate purpose loan would be for an amount not to exceed $165,000.
Questions? This item.
I would move to approve.
Second.
We don't actually have anything until, because they combined everything in one resolution. So we do have to hold two separate public hearings, but the resolution itself isn't until the second one. So,
I was kind of confused. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Says-
sorry.
And it does say motion there.
Yeah.
In your defense, it does say
Oh
motion.
my gosh, it does. I'm so sorry. Yep, that's my bad. Sorry, Delane.
Tried to hang me out to dry. Thank you.
Sorry.
Do I need to rescind the motion or?
You didn't actually, you should, I will make a motion, and you didn't ever make a motion. So.
I thought I'd make a motion to approve. Fail
Oh.
lack of second as well.
All right, so being that there was no second to Delaine's motion, we will move on then to our second public hearing, which is on the general obligation loan agreement, and we'll open that hearing then. And we have an affidavit of publication on that one also.
Your Honor.
Anybody received any written comments this item?
I did not.
Any oral comments tonight? Motion to close the hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Pittman.
Aye.
Okay, so then we have resolution 11523. But it does just say general obligation corporate. It doesn't say essential purpose corporate, if I'm reading it right.
Well, they only sent the one, so let's look and see.
But if you look at the resolution itself, it talks about entering into loan agreements, combining the loan agreements for original obligation purpose notes. So it's got two, they're both listed within the resolution. So
They're-
First paragraph talks about the 165, the second talks about the
They're
30.
just
Yeah, I
not
know,
out here.
it's not.
And I think that's because
Jive.
they're both general corporate purpose. It's just one is essential and one, is that how that works,
Well, they're
Steve?
both general
Or-
obligation loans.
general
One's
obligation.
General corporate purpose, the other is considered essential corporate.
Yeah, they're
So-
both geo. That's what I was trying to
General
say.
corporate purposes here, then for an amount not to exceed 35,000, which will cover the $33,333 payment number 2 to TLC, that economic development piece that we did. So this essentially will reimburse us for the second payment that we've already made this year.
This is for payment 2 of 3, you say?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so any other questions on that before we have a motion on, or do we have a motion to resolution 1523?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Now, any further questions?
The 165 is pretty similar to what we've done in the past, and it's actually a little bit lower than some that we've done in the past, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll fluctuate. I mean, there's been years we've been close to 300,000
Right.
on these. Yeah, it's for a lot of the same pieces of equipment and clothing and whatnot that we've done in the past.
Any other questions? We'll call the roll.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman,
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
All right, next up then we have resolution 1623, which is approving the garden lease for Tyson's. Who's gonna cover this one? Trudy?
Well, I guess I can. She didn't show, so I guess we can talk about it. This is the same as it's been in the past. It's directly south. Price is the same. It's starting, I believe, April 15th and it goes through June 30th. So this is the same as it's been in the past, so nothing different.
Not until April 15th.
If I remember right, it's a little less square footage than what they've done in the past, right?
I was thinking it was the same.
Was
isn't
it the same?
Steve? I
This should
think.
be about the same. I
Yeah,
think.
that's what I was thinking.
IVs was smaller than.
IVs
That's
was
okay.
smaller.
Steve was the smaller one.
Catch it that this is true.
Well, assuming it's the same and it's all looking great, I would so move.
Second.
Any other comments?
Everything's gone pretty good with these, both of these the last few years, hasn't it? I can't recall what we've
Really
had.
has. I mean,
Issues or-
they're usually very good about keeping it
Contains.
spreading out too much and getting it cleaned up and good time. So yeah, I mean, I think it's been a good partnership that way.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman,
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Went in the restroom, chief.
Oh, okay.
All right, so then we'll move on to concerning the second reading of ordinance 1163, which is updating chapter 158 and chapter 159 relating to property maintenance and rental property inspection. Discussion.
I
Chief?
took this last time. I worked with Chief Anderson and code enforcement. They had some proposed additions to these two chapters. The primary changes were to update the code sections that we previously adopted by reference to newer versions. And then they had some additional provisions from those codes that they wanted to include in our rental property ordinance that would allow us to better enforce maintenance of rental properties.
Discussion or questions?
So what are some of the bigger changes to this, Brett?
The International Property Code we were previously using, I believe, was the 2012 version.
So Brad's correct. We went from the 2012 version of the International Property Maintenance Code, and we just updated it to the 2020, or maybe even 2022. And then we added some of those provisions out of that code to the rental maintenance code. And it's not that we didn't have them in our city code somewhere else. It's just that we wanted to, and speaking with Brad, we wanted to make sure that it was clean and it was understood by all the landlords that this was in that code section, so they didn't need to go searching through our code to find it. So we ended up just putting those inside 159.
And then just more clarification then, so everybody knows what the playing field is, correct?
Correct. So they were actually in some of our other codes throughout the city code, but they were not in this actual code section. So I think most of them were. I don't think we might have added a couple that aren't somewhere else, but I don't think we did.
Thank you.
So other than classifying them in this, all in one area, are any of these codes from 2012 to current more stringent, or are they pretty much the same?
Actually, nothing changed in there except for some definitions in that actual code. But we didn't accept the whole IPMC when we switched over. We again just took out parts of that and accepted that for 159, also for 158. So there were no changes as in anything became more stringent or tougher, or it was all definitions that changed throughout those years, I think.
Other questions?
Well, we had pretty lengthy discussion on this, so I think it's good progress with the rental properties. And I think you also mentioned the owners of these properties have already been notified, correct?
Correct. We sent out letters to all the landlords, and I know that Michael Molina, our code enforcement officer, has been in contact with quite a few, so. And nothing with, I guess, a negative connotation over this code, but he's spoken with them about their rentals and about registering them mainly, but I don't think he's really gotten too much feedback on the change to the code itself.
Thank you.
And you're certain you sent those to all the landlords?
Uh,
Didn't miss any of them?
I can't be certain, so I know that he sent them out to the list of landlords he had. So,
I didn't receive one that I'm aware of.
okay, he sent them out to, I can't remember how many,
believe it.
347 maybe. So are you registered on the? I'll check with him then.
Ah, we got the link. No.
Yeah. It's not a big deal.
No, I'll
Maybe
check.
Maybe it came and just got sent on through, but I would thought that would have been something we would have noticed.
Okay.
My concern is if I wasn't part of it, is there anybody else that may not have been covered as well?
It's always a possibility.
And
And
so your,
no need to send one to me if I didn't,
Okay.
if I haven't already.
so your list is compiled how? By registered landlords? Or how do you get your?
Well,
300?
so through this transition this last year, we went from Jason Webster to another employee, Michael Molina. We lost a lot of data. We're also, thanks to Corey sitting here, I sung his praises last time we were in here about that new program we're starting. So there's a lot of data entry into that program. So that data entry, there's a possibility that somebody was missed doing that data entry. Is it to all the ones that were registered? I told you last time that we had, I think, 347 or something out of 980 registered. So it's not the registered ones, it's the ones in the past that have had registrations. And so we tried to compile that through 3 different lists. And so some of the feedback he's getting is that the people have sold their houses last year and they're no longer landlords. So he's been talking to quite a few different people, but yeah, so there's a possibility that we did miss somebody. But I know we sent out a very large amount of letters. So.
Any other questions? Have a motion yet?
I will move to approve.
Second.
Anybody else? Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman,
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley.
Aye.
Then we will have the second reading of ordinance 1163.
An ordinance amending and updating sections of chapter 158 property maintenance code and chapter 159 licensing and inspection of rental properties to update uniform code provisions adopted by reference.
Thank you. Now we'll have resolution 1723, which is approving an agreement with Crisis Intervention. Steve or Brad, or who's doing this one?
Yeah, I can speak on this. So this, the payment to crisis intervention. So this is a resolution that basically approves the agreement, formally. And this is really a directive that kind of came out of the state auditor's office. To see, they want to make sure that public funds are used for a public purpose. And so they kind of went through and really kind of fine tune how to establish these agreements for paying various entities outside of the city. And so this is an agreement that Brad largely drafted last year. We just kind of reincarnated it again for this year to approve payment to crisis intervention, as we're looking to provide $2,000 in funding for fiscal year 24. So I think this should make the state auditor's office happy and our auditors happy and keep everything above board.
I think Trudy, you had said that the feedback from auditors we received this year was that.
Yep.
these agreements were acceptable.
They did not say anything about it, so.
Well, if the auditors are happy with it, I would move to approve resolution 1723.
Second.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman.
All right, we next have resolution 1823, which is setting the time and place for a public hearing or to consider the maximum tax dollars for certain levies of the city's proposed 23-24 budget. Steve, you want to try to explain this one?
Sure. Happy to. So the poorly named max levy is only a certain number of levies, not all of them. So should be less than max in my opinion, but so what this is an attempt to do, and this is something we had to start doing here about 4 or 5 years ago, was there are particular levies that we utilize that fall within this provision for a max levy hearing. This was to help provide more transparency of government so people could, see what the changes were, not only in if a levy rate changed, but if spending actual dollars changed too. So it really, what it does in the max levy hearing page that you have, it'll show, the current budget we're in, the values associated with that, how much we're collecting in tax dollars, and then what those total levies add up to. Now, these are all the levies except the aviation levy, library levy, and then debt service. Those three are subtracted, and the ag levy. That's what was kind of special anyway. But everything else is included in that total number of levies. So what they do is they show one column that shows what it currently is, and then the next column shows, okay, if you kept your spending the same based on the valuations you have, how would that impact the levy rate? So that's what you see there. We went from a max levy of 1385 to a max levy of 1438. If you held all that, the actual dollars spent the same. The final column, the third column, is the one, I guess, to focus on the most, because that shows, again, what the current taxable valuation is, and these are those new amended numbers, based on what are we actually looking to levy. And so you'll see the regular general levy, that goes down from the previous year because it's capped. What's showed in that second column is being feasible because it's over 810. But that's done to hold things consistent. So if you look through that third column, it adds up all those levies, all those total dollar amounts, gives you a total dollar amount at the bottom, which is approximately $6,000 less than last year. And then it gives you the levy rate associated with that. So the max levy rate we're looking to approve at the next meeting will be the $14.36, a net decrease of 0.16. So because our valuations declined, our amount that we could collect effectively declined in a lot of areas. Some areas we just didn't collect as much, but overall, those dollar amounts are down. So we'll be having a public hearing to kind of go through and talk about that again, and that's the idea. Because a lot of cities would say, oh, well, we dropped taxes or we kept them the same because the levy rate didn't change. And as we all know, that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? So they wanted to, this was an attempt to kind of help share, well, the levy rate may be the same, but your collections are going up, and how does that work? So that's the intent, but it's hard to explain that to a lot of people to understand. It's complicated.
Questions or comments?
So on your latest projection, Steve, are we still looking at a balanced budget with a positive based on where we're at today?
On the budget itself, we are with a number of assumptions.
Right.
That backfills come in and things of that nature, and a lot of that is still unknown.
Okay. I think that's a good point for the public to know that this has been a good process. It's kind of a no frills budget, but we still have a positive coming out of it too. So thank you.
Other comments, questions?
To me, this thing almost seems like more, they're trying to get at an essential corporate purpose type thing that. Because everything that's listed here is truly, other than the debt service, is, it's kind of all the main functions. I mean, like the airport and things like that, we don't really have a lot of control over. Kind of more pass through type stuff. So I don't know. In my mind, that's what it seems like they're trying to get at, but that's just me.
And like, debt service, those are things that we really, those are fixed.
Right.
As well. We can't
Right.
cut those because
Right.
we have agreements for paying those debts. So, so that, so it's good in that that's not included because that would be wouldn't be a true reflection. Whereas the other ones, we have more control.
Right.
We can make cuts, we can eliminate things, but those other ones are, like you say, the pass through, or they're already committed dollars.
And someone wasn't aware of how the whole process works and just heard this from this meeting tonight. Then all of a sudden, when the full budget is approved, they're like, well, wait a minute, you guys were only talking $14 instead of what the true, total levy amount's gonna be for that actual budget.
So usually try and talk about those both at the same time. So
Right.
our max levy amount is gonna be, our total levy is gonna be 1653 and change.
Other comments?
I would move to approve.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Pittman.
Aye.
That will be set for our March 20th meeting, then that public hearing. Okay. All right, next up then is resolution 1923 approving the purchase of a vac truck. Steve, do you want to start off? And I see Corey's here to be your backup.
Sure. He's here to suck it up.
Huh? You sucked it up. Oh, Delane, you always give me a hard time on those. And now you're falling prey to it. I did want to, while we're on that topic, I did want to thank Travis, who's here tonight, for putting some of those quotes in the paper. So thanks, Travis.
The whole
gosh.
headline, the council doesn't balk. Oh, geez.
Thanks, Travis. Okay, moving right ahead.
All right, so vac truck. It should suck less than that joke.
There we go.
All right, so we're looking to replace our current vac truck. It's approximately
Travis
10 years old,
said it.
about 2012. And we've gotten some good mileage out of it. There have been some minor issues, I think, with the boom piece that we've looked to address in our next truck purchase. And so here we're looking to make purchase of this vac truck in fiscal year 24. Order it now. It's going to take about 6 months, I think, to get. So we're going to get that order in now. We've budgeted in fiscal year 23 out of sewer, water, and street departments for this expense. Splitting those proportionately. quarter through water, quarter through street, and half through sewer usage. So half the total payment's gonna come out of 23, half the total payment's gonna come out of 24. We already have an interested local contractor that's gonna buy our used one off of us. And so the price for a new vac truck would be $612,039.36. We did, I guess one thing of note, we did look at, would it make sense just to contract this out and not have to, own and maintain our own and the cost of doing that's about $100,000 a year. So we get 10, 11 years out of this, we have it paid in 6 years, paid for it 6 years. So it makes sense to have that handy from a financial standpoint. Plus, it's nice to have it on hand, available to us if and when we need it at the time we need it. So there's a lot of good reasons to own one, and it does a good service to our community. So we're looking to purchase that truck from the same company we have it now, which is McQueen Equipment. It's the newer model. Any other details Corey could fill us in on, but that's the general idea.
Our net out of pocket costs about $460, rough number.
Questions for Steve or Corey?
So we had some good discussion this last time. Corey, we kind of talked about the average citizen of Charles City. Do they really even know what a vac truck is and what a vac truck does and why it's important to have one here rather than waiting a truck to come from Mason City or somewhere farther away and all the, be able to suck all of the fun stuff out of the underneath.
So I think Keith kind of talked about before, flush the toilet, take a shower. I mean, that's the last you want to think of it. So, I mean, sewer does back up. If we get called out, we can jet it. High pressure jet water, pull it back, vac it out, and clean up any backup in the sewer mains. It doesn't have anything to do with service laterals, but as far as getting the main cleaned out, and like Steve said, we're not waiting for somebody to come in from Mason City, Waterloo. There's a street department on-call operator, can get out there and get it taken care of. So we're talking, half an hour instead of a few hours. So
Is that something we can put in community notes to let the public know what this does and
yep,
why it's
I'm
important?
actually,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I'm up March 21st, so I've been working on that. So
Okay.
Yep, a little explanation of a few different projects we do. I think that
Thank you.
Corey, and even other than emergency situations, it just does this routinely too, so we don't have emergency situations, doesn't it?
Yep, so I'll go into that with the city notes too, but yeah, every year we flush the sanitary sewers, the whole sewer, and then we jet a third of the city every year. So yeah, the flushing gets any of the big cleanup or any of the big debris, and then actually sending the high pressure water down and pulling it back to each manhole, vacuuming it out, gets any sand, rocks, smaller roots. So yep, just a yearly preventive maintenance to keep everything flowing. So
Good, thanks. Any other questions?
I would move to approve resolution 1923.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Excuse me, Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
I,
Friesman.
Aye.
Pittman.
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
All right, so while you're there, Corey, we'll move on to resolution 2023, which is approving a generator purchase. Do you want to explain that one, or Steve, or?
Yeah, I guess I'll touch on it quick. This is, again, all these pieces are things we budget here for fiscal year 23 or ordering for 24 come up ahead here, but this generator purchase would be for a transportable generator that could be used for power goes down at our various booster pump stations, mainly the one there by the medical center at South Main 11th Street. And so this would help power the high pressure zone, which could be an issue if we lose power and lose pressure. It would drop significantly for some of our heavier commercial users. And so something we need to be mindful of and be prepared for, just in case power goes out, disaster hits community, we need to keep that water pressure up and going. And so this is identified as critical piece that we wanted to get, and so we kind of worked on get that budget here this fiscal year 23.
Questions of anyone?
Corey, what brand of generator are we looking at?
I believe this is a Kohler.
Kohler, okay. That Cat then, or?
No, so we have a Kohler and a Cat out at the water plant. I believe this one here is a Kohler too.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, top two brands, I'd say.
What's the expected life of this thing?
I'd say 15 to 20 years. I mean, depending on usage, so.
It'd be nice to have, I think anyway, because you can press that into service, since it's gonna be movable, you know, in a lot of different situations, so
I know I'll sleep a lot better at night, so.
I'd so move.
Second.
Anybody else with any comments? Call the roll.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
And then last up for Corey is resolution 21-23 approving the contract for plugging of well number 4.
Yeah, so this is the old well up off of 13th there by White Farm, by the old water tower essentially. We haven't used this well. It's only there for really emergency purposes. It comes out of a different watershed, and it's pumps right into the system. There's a lot, last time we pumped it, I think there's a lot of iron and, you know, there's a lot of deterioration going on in the well itself, and I think it's the general consensus that it's a well that we really don't need and would in the long run would cost us more than it's going to provide us in benefit. So you have North White Well and Pump, plug it, it'll be about $50,000 to do that, and that would take that well effectively out of service. So when's the last time we actually used it, Corey?
But we pumped it, I mean, twice since I've been here, just out into the street. I mean, we can bypass it and just pumped it out in the street just to make sure, but like I said, there's quite a few leaks inside, just in the building that we can see. When it was actually ran out to the system, I don't have any records of that even.
I didn't think about it the other night, but do we have to do anything different with where it connects to the system to cut that off? and
So this-
close that off?
Yeah, so that's kind of a different project. We'll get taken care of too, put a new hydrant in and cut the T out and we'll, yep. Isolate that or abandon all that, so.
But that isn't part of this bid. This
No,
is
it's
just
not.
for the
This
well
is just
itself.
for plugging the well, yes,
Do
sir.
you have any idea what the other part of it will cost or when we might get at that?
I plan to get that this summer too. That's something we can do.
Oh.
Most of the work, so.
Sounds good.
You were mentioning the other day, this well is quite a bit deeper than most of all of our other wells.
Yeah, so this one I think is 1,900 feet, I want to say. We're, 240, 260 right around there for the other three, so. 1,300 feet, sorry,
I was just saying, I thought it was about 13. the other day.
built in 1939.
Other comments?
It doesn't sound like we need it. It doesn't sound like it's gonna really produce what we need if we needed it. So I would move to approve resolution 21-23.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton.
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Corey. Then we'll go on to resolution 22-23 approving the services for TLC. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but you want to add anything, Steve?
Yeah, no, this is just our taking official steps to approve the agreement that we have with TLC for those economic development payments. And we agreed to pay them $100,000 total over the course of 3 separate payments. And so we've approved the first 2. This would be approving the fiscal year 24 payment. So then fiscal year 25 is when we'll look to get reimbursed. What we did in the short-term borrowing was reimbursed for fiscal year.
What we've already
23.
paid. Yeah,
Paid, so.
okay. Okay, questions?
It's one of those things we're committed to. We just need to move forward, get it done. So I move to approve.
Second.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Pittman,
Aye.
Knighton,
Aye.
Star,
Aye.
Lumley,
Aye.
Friesman.
Haven't been to the new TLC facility. It's quite an improvement from what they had before. It gives them a lot of extra space. So I think it is a good economic development tool for our community, because when people move here from out of town, they kind of expect that you're going to have a licensed certified daycare center. So I think it is an economic development tool besides being a childcare facility. So. Moving on, do we have any miscellaneous correspondence from anyone?
None, Your Honor.
Brad, anything else on your table tonight? Trudy, city clerk's report.
Next meeting is going to be a planning session on March 15th at 5 o'clock.
Steve, city administrator's report.
Yeah, so just a couple things. So on your place tonight, I printed off, this is the proposed final levy worksheet, same thing that we saw the other night, so nothing different there, but attached to it are then just my general overall notes for the entire budget. And so you'll see some things we saw before. I made through it, trying to make updates to the things we tweaked and changed. So, but it's just kind of a reference, helpful reference guide as we go through the year to say, yeah, that's what we kind of budgeted, and have it all in one nice handy little dandy packet. So that's that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Second thing I wanted to mention, so this last Friday, we had our quarterly North Iowa Managers Group tour. We get together every couple months. And so this time we were meeting in the city of Eldora. And so we were down there, got to tour their fire station and fire operations and mess station and operations. And had to say that was a pretty enlightening and encouraging tour of the setup they have going down there, because they're a community that the community itself is about half the size of us. The area they serve, they have almost as many calls as we do, and they run it as a public entity and they are able to do so effectively. So I'm actually going to be zooming in with the EMS director on Wednesday to kind of talk through our proposed budget we had for looking at an in-house model compared to what they have. Hopefully they can fill in some holes to see how close we might be, to see how something like that might pan out. So just the way they operate and everything was very encouraging. And so I thought it was just a very appropriate visit, as it turned out. I mean, whoever hosts these things can, they can do whatever kind of presentation they want. And this guy wanted to show us his fire and EMS. So it was really, really great visit. So enjoyed that. And they'll just be leading up to our ambulance commission meeting that we have this Thursday coming up at 5 o'clock. Last thing I guess I'll mention is our housing task force, our infill subcommittee is meeting again tomorrow. That's the group that's kind of taking charge of, they really want to, reach out, landlords and, and have a landlord meeting to talk about the changes that we're looking at for, as far as enforcement and implementation of our rental codes. And thought we had a great meeting here a week or so ago with Chief Anderson and Michael and Paul. This housing group, they really want to be the ones to help, bring the landlords in and inform them, because, the city and code enforcement is the tool. What's driving this are the citizens and the people of the community and the council that want to see better quality housing stock. And so they want to be able to convey that, get feedback from landlords on this process, and just kind of help everybody through that. So I'm not sure when that meeting's going to be yet, but our next meeting and getting ready for that is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So other than that, that's all I have.
Anybody else have anything from any board or commission or committees that you're working with?
Not a committee report, but I will not be here next week, nor will I be zooming in, as I am entertaining 22 high school students in Greece. So I will not be here.
That sounds fun.
Hopefully it won't be 1,000 degrees.
No, it should not be. So that'll be good. No wildfires right now either. So that's another plus. Yeah.
Good. Anyone else have anything for tonight? Not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, I guess I don't get to vote. Why did I say aye? Meeting adjourned.
Really great.